have a glass of champagne before you go on the stage. Makes you feel good, makes you feel happy.
Well, the BUZZCOKS started about nearly 33 years ago. We had a break for about 8 years. But then 20 years ago we got back together again, and we've been back together ever since.
You know, we started in 1976 with an idea about punk revolution. We brought the Sex Pistols to town, and we started 2 days before the Clash, and they were our contemporaries. We made our own record, you know, and inspired the world, you know, and inspired us, you know. It was a very important time, you know. Changed people's lives. When they put those BUZZCOKS records on, they had to rethink their whole life and about music, you know. So it's very important and very inspiring for people, as well as us, you know.
Yeah, we used to have a glass of champagne. That's a good way to start the day.
Drink some champagne if we're in a hurry, you know, because that hits you quick, you know. Or sometimes might have a line of cocaine, you know. You know, I've lived a rock and roll lifestyle, but, you know, you've got to be careful with drugs. It's not all right. I don't do that every night now. I used to years ago, you know. You've got to remember at the age of 20, suddenly, one minute you had no money, next minute you had some money and you could buy drink, drugs and girls. What man would refuse that, you know? You know what I mean? It's part of the rock and roll, you know. But the music was important.
Don't know really. There's nothing particular. I think it's. I mean, I just wait and see. It's pointless trying to imagine what a place is going to be like. I mean, sometimes you turn up at a club and it looks very small, and you think, oh, it's not going to be very good in here. Then the moment you walk on stage, it's the audience that make the performance come alive. Really.
When we started, it was more to deliver the songs. Now people know a lot of the songs. I like to feel the feeling of the people. And between the band and the crowd, there's two things, and those two things create a third thing, you know. And that's the magic, you know. It's the nearest thing you'll get to seeing God, all of us, that's the band and the crowd. It's like a good spirit inside, a very powerful spirit.
Not perfect, but it's more in the experience and everything. I mean, like I say, it's a conversation between us and the audience.
It doesn't worry me if I ever made a mistake, because that's what I'm saying. I'm not here to prove I'm the best musician in the world, but I can make you feel good, you know. That's more important. I can do things with a guitar more than most people can do with a woman, you know.
I prefer clubs in a way. Even though you play to more people at a festival, it's hard to see. You only see the first, the 20 rows maybe. But when you're in a smaller venue, it's good because you get to see the people, and that's what you come there for. But they come to see you, and you come to see them.
It's a great feeling in a small place, you know, because you can feel the vibrations close from the people, you know, and see the faces very close, you know.
I usually play black guitar. As long as it's black, I'm happy. And I use a Marshall amp. I don't use the volume and tone controls to change the sound. I don't use foot pedal. I just plug in and play and see what happens.
Well, we generally hire Marshall amplifiers, you know, and I have many guitars which I like, you know. I used to have this one that played on a lot of the early singles. It was a Les Paul Jr., yellow one. If anybody knows the album Singles Going Steady, there's a picture of it on the front of that. I'm playing it on the front of that. Unfortunately, it got stolen in the 80s, but that was my favourite guitar. It was like a Stradivarius, violin. It was beautiful,
Well, it was something which we had the idea a few years ago, so it was a good excuse to come out and play the songs. And it's really great because we're playing songs that we never really played for a long, long time, if at all.
The last two albums have been great as well, But a lot of people have fond memories and first got to know the BUZZCOKS through those albums. So some people got married to those albums, met their girlfriends at the gigs, or one of the first records they bought, something like that, So there's a lot put on it, a lot of memories attached.
Well, the Nirvana one was the most fun. Playing Portugal, Spain, and France. But sadly, it was their last tour because it was just shortly before Kurt killed himself.
It was great to tour with them both on different occasions. Kurt Cobain was amazing. Well, the whole band, Nirvana, were an amazing band, and they was influenced by punk and BUZZCOKS, and they took that to somewhere else, made influences from punk into their own identity and make great songs. And there was amazing people, I remember walking around with Kurt around these stadiums, he had an old coat on, he looked like he'd just been sleeping in a doorway somewhere, like an old tramp or something, But he was a wonderful writer and a wonderful person, I think Pearl Jam were better live than on record, The live performance was better, really.
Yes, well, the Stooges were, the Ramones, Sex Pistols, Clash, but Jonathan Richman. There was lots of different things which all got together to make punk an exciting thing.
The Stooges were inspirational to us, The Stooges were a few years before we started, but they did inspire us, But also, bands like The Who inspired us as well and things like that. One of the first records I heard as a kid was Bob Dylan, and he inspired me too, Many, many bands, the Stones, Beatles, Velvet Underground. Our contemporaries were the Clash and the Pistols, That's who we started with. All the other punk bands came a bit later, about 3 or 4 months later. Suddenly they started to get thousands of punk bands. But there was only 3 bands in the country for a little while in 1976, That started the ball rolling,